for now. I guess if we look at our schedule, we will try to have 1 or 2 questions for each speaker. So I will just start with the first presentation we had. For Eleftherios, I have 1 question. So you stated that 36% of the EU CO2 emissions are caused by the building sector. Can you state which factors are included in this number and where this number came from? You are still on mute.
Still. Eleftherios, you are muted. Ah, yeah, now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now it's possible to hear you.
These are the emissions from the operation phase of the buildings. So it doesn't take into account, for example, the CO2 emissions for producing the cement or the steel used in a building. So the biggest factor in it would be the heating, cooling, and the ventilation system of buildings.
Okay, thank you very much. And then maybe you can also state what you expect to be the biggest challenges and hurdles during the transformation of the construction industry. And maybe you can also assess whether or not this will it will be easier for certain trades to transform more easily than other trades.
I'd say a big challenge is, let's say, to get out of our comfort zone. There are technologies that are proved to be more beneficial. For example, like radiant heating, but still we see it being installed only in a very small fraction of buildings compared to radiators. Unfortunately, the majority of engineers and practitioners are, let's say, afraid to get out of their comfort zone. It's a new technology. They know how radiators operate to try to introduce something new. And I think this is a challenge with most of the technologies that we are trying to introduce in the construction sectors, like all these digital technologies like artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and so on that I mentioned earlier. So our main goal is first, let's say, to prove their proof of concept that they can be used in the sector, they can be beneficial, so that we encourage other stakeholders to adopt those technologies.
Okay, thank you very much for this information. We will move on to the VIP part of the of Kenny's presentation. So we have several questions here. One came up twice. Did you give the 5-year quality warranty for the Grand Tower in Frankfurt, which is the usual warranty time?
Actually, we don't have that traditional quality warranty time for that available, but we did a special one with the producers that is made directly with them. Yeah.
Okay. And then maybe one more question. So it came up if there are any other approaches to the envelopes of the VIP. So are there any, especially in regards to sustainability, any other approaches for the high barrier coating around them besides the usual envelopes used at the moment?
In the InnoRip project, yes, there has been some development concerning improvement of the barrier properties of the envelopes, as well as the cost of those envelopes, but those have been done by other partners. So I'm not aware of all the details about what have done about that.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kenny. Louis?
May I just add one thing from the Fraunhofer side? We have also a material development department here, and Ezra is also involved in the project, and she just sent me a short answer that we're also working on monomaterial envelopes, which would be easier to recycle and more sustainable.
Okay, thank you for this addition. We will just, you can stay online, so to say. Let's move on to your presentation then. We had a lot of questions regarding the Creasolve process. So the first one was, is it possible to remove the plasticizers and adhesives during this process for PVCs? And also, if you can remove them, what do you do with them afterwards?
So yes, those materials can be removed. Since they're no longer allowed due to REACH regulations, they have to be disposed after being removed. For EPS, the flame retardants there, it's a different story. Those bromine-containing materials can be modified or just chemically processed to be a flame retardant, again, of a different structure. That is now allowed still.
Okay, and then this also is kind of the same direction of question also on the Creasolve process. So what color and quality does the resulting PVC that you recovered from this process have?
So when it comes to color, unfortunately, our process is still limited. So we cannot create, for example, white PVC from blue and black input material. So some of the colors, dyes, pigments will stay within the material, which means that the output material will have some color depending on the color of the input material. But the mechanical properties, or just properties in general of the material, are really close to the initial PVC that went into the production of the floor.
Okay, thank you very much, Louis. And then I guess we will move on to Shahab. So now some questions came up with a little time to think. So the first one would be, are there LCA analysis available for exemplary constructions, for example, like a general building concrete or a general timber structure, or is each of these LCAs very product specific?
So LCA studies generally are very product specific. So the way it generally is addressed is that we have environmental product declarations from different manufacturers that are basically undertaken by independent, companies and organizations, and based on the information provided by the manufacturers. And then these include the detail of the LCA study and the overall impact, environmental impact of those materials. Now, we at the same time, we have independent, research studies that have looked at these and have provided, the environmental impact of these construction, methods. They're different. There is no, one number associated with these, and it depends on the project and depends on the building service. The service life we are assuming for these construction methods. The sources of material and the transportation method and everything like all these details. But looking at the research out there, you can perhaps find a range associated with each technique.
Okay, thank you. Then one last question for you and for this Q&A session. Are costs for disposal, including dismantling, usually included in this type of analysis, or are they left out?
So life cycle costing generally includes all different stages of a product's lifetime. So anything from the extraction of the raw materials to all the processes in the manufacturing of it and production of the different materials and services, all the way to the end of life and dismantling and treatments at the end of life. So upon existence and availability of this data, all these generally need to be taken into account when LCC studies are undertaken.
Thank you very much, Shahab, and to each of our presenters. This is it for our first Q&A session. As I already said, we will forward each question that you asked and that was not answered yet to the person who will be able to answer it. And yes, now I give the word back to Daniel.
Great, thank you, Caroline, for this perfect moderation. And I think we heard really interesting questions and answers. So now we will have a short break. We will continue at 11:50. We will update the slide in just a minute. So you have some time now to grab a coffee, stretch your legs, and then in the next sessions we will hear about the startups I promised you, and we will hear about other European innovative projects that will present results and possibilities for collaboration. Thank you for visiting Building the Future 2020, and see you in a minute.